Well, we're getting down to probably about 6 minutes. So we'll kind of wrap down here. I know, Dave, when I've listened to previous shows, you've talked
Hmm.
about um, the reverence that you have for Bruce Springsteen and
Hmm.
just the things that his music did to you. And I'm going to say that, and I've told you this before, but you have helped me through sometimes. Just listening to your radio station, listening to that voice. Um, I never acted on anything, but I've had those thoughts and I've just been in those dark spaces.
Hmm.
And I just want to say that you are my Bruce Springsteen.
Well, thank you, man. You don't know how much that means. And
Mm-hmm.
the concept with my story, and for your listeners that don't know, I'll be very brief. When I was a teenager, I got into a very dark place and I tried to kill myself. The gun misfired 3, 4 times. It just would not fire
Wow.
off. I couldn't die. And then as I was getting pissed and ready to pull the trigger one more
Darn.
time, the headlights from my dad's car swept through the
Mm.
living room. And I thought, I can't do this to him. I can't let him hear the shot that killed his son and let him know he was 5 seconds too late. So I put the gun away and figured I can do this another day. And I went down to my room in the dark and I turned on my radio and I listened to music, which is what I would bury myself in. And I heard a song and I changed the dial after it ended and I heard it again and I changed the dial again and I heard it again. And it just
Mm.
kept playing. And all of a sudden, around the third time, it's like somebody removed their hands from my ears. And this silly bubblegum pop song from 1980s, dancing in the dark with this swing upbeat tempo, I started hearing the words. And here I was self-absorbed in my moment of grief and shock and sadness and feeling like I was the only one in the world that had ever felt this way. I was the only one in the world that had ever known this kind of loss and questioning who I am. And I started hearing the words about how he couldn't stand his clothes, his hair, his
Mhm.
face. This place around him is just suffocating him. He doesn't know who to trust anymore. His life, he knows there's something better. He knows there's something better. He just doesn't know how to get there. But you can't start a fire sitting around crying with a broken heart.
Mhm.
You can't start a fire worrying about your little world falling apart. And boom, it was like the gospel being sung in my ears. And I was moved to tears. I couldn't believe the message I was hearing. And for the first point in my life, I realized, oh, hey, dumbass, you're not so special. You're not the only one that's ever felt this way. Springsteen knows what this is. He's singing about it. He's sharing his feelings. And he's one of the biggest rock stars in the world. So he
Mm-hmm.
didn't let that moment define him. He didn't let that moment kill or crush his spirit. He took the hit. He felt like crap. He stood back up. He dusted it off and he said, you can't start a fire sitting around crying with a broken heart. You can't start a fire worrying about your little world falling apart. And he was dancing in the dark. The darkness is that muck and mire we allow ourselves into all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But you got to find a way out. And you gotta light your own way, because not always going to be somebody else there to do it. And it was that motivation that I wasn't alone, that I buried myself in his music and I could hear through his words that, okay, somebody else has felt like this. I'm not an alien. I'm not broken.
Mm-hmm.
This is normal. And
I'm
that made
so
me feel
glad.
good.
I'm so
Yeah.
glad you did not.